Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hot Takes Valorant Edition. Joined as always by Zach, ahead of the Game Changers Championship, starting in 2 days from the time of recording. You excited?
Very, very, very excitedly. Game Changers is such a special event, especially, I'm a bit biased because I work on some of the broadcasts, but really excited this year. You have more teams than usual. They increased the teams to 10 from 8 this year, and there were a lot more tournaments. So I feel like the representatives, the power level has also like kind of gone up. So I
Yeah.
feel like it's going to be an exciting tournament.
Cool. Well, let's jump straight into it then. Because am I right in thinking? Because I don't watch much Game Changers, so I'm leaning totally on you, and I'm coming in as the idiot that doesn't really know anything. Um, But obviously the base level knowledge is that Shopify Rebellion have been the dominant team the last couple of years.
hmm
Am I right in thinking it's not as obvious this year, or is that just being like just doing simple logic without Fluorescent there, who was obviously the star player?
I think I agree with you there because the 2 years that they won the championship, Florissant was on the roster, and she had a lot of impact. I mean, even her time with Apex this year, playing in the main VCT league, like yeah, Apex kind of sucked, but it wasn't really her fault, she did her best. So I think that not having her like a replacement, Dodonut is a very experienced player, and SRG have dominated NA, but looking at that international spectrum, it remains to be seen if they can pull off the same level of dominance that they were able to in the last 2 years.
Fair enough. Who is like the main rivals then? If I'll just bring up the Liquipedia page. Who is expected to be challenging? Because like G2 looks like they're in good form this year from at least like looking at results. I know like the Petra thing is like like a pretty badass story from her point of view of just like smashing EMEA for 2 years, and then they ask her to retry out for her position, says no, and then they presumably begged her to come back to salvage a season and get him here. Um, who's like the main challengers, do you think, apart from Shopify?
Well, I think that G2 is definitely up there. Like, yeah, they were kind of fucking around this season. I don't know what the heck they were doing in stage one and two. Like, I mean, you have a very good roster first. There were like a lot of rule changes, making people play weird shit. And then they really struggled to find a good duelist player. But I think once they signed Akita, who is their newest member, I think they signed her like the middle of the year. They found that synergy for stage three and they kind of dominated stage three. So they're so back. I mean, this iteration of G2 kind of reminds me of the first championship winning one way back in 2022. So, really strong duelist player. They had Mary then. Oh, I mean, Mary was a Chamber player, but you take my point. Chamber was a duelist at that point. So, Akira looking really strong. Mimi looking really good on that IGO role. And Vanya as well has been looking very, very incredible in terms of performance now that she's back in her comfort zone, so as to speak, in terms of the agent. So, I think overall, this is a very strong roster in terms of just firepower. And probably, I would say, it's them or MIBR or even like TL Liquid who are going to be kind of challenging SRG for that top dog spot if you go by like, historical performance.
Who's your dark horse?
I'm a little
Who's doing an
biased.
NRG run?
Okay, I'm a little bit biased here, but I'm going to have to say the Pacific teams because Zipto making it here was honestly on no one's cards because everyone expected Falcons to be like that top seed from Pacific, and Zipto completely stomped them. Sorry about that. They 2-0'd their way through the Pacific bracket. They won the grand final 3-1. Pretty dominant showing coming in from them at the Pacific stage. And I think that individually they signed a new duelist player. They look really, really strong as well as a team. And Ninetales, I mean, they might have come second at Pacific, but it is their home ground. They are the Korean team playing in Korea. So, if there was ever a hometown buff, it's got to be this team it's hitting.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Um, I wonder, do you know? We might say it on here as well, but where the finals were? Oh, it was all offline. Never mind. I was going to say if they did the finals in Lowell Park, maybe they've
I think
got
they did
the
it in Thailand. They did
right.
it in Thailand.
Sure. Like so I'm thinking if the Korean team has ever like had chances to play at Lowell Park, or I guess if you're like based in Korea, you probably would have gone anyway. Um, and yeah,
Pretty sure they'll get some practice
just the
in the
fact
days
of
ahead.
like not having to travel and not having like any disruption and stuff. I'm sure that's like a massive help. Definitely. Um, what players stand out to you? Like who? Let's say we're gonna have another player this year that's that's going to get chances to go into VCT, who would be your most likely to like stand out and
Oh
get their name
man.
out there?
Uh, Honestly speaking, see, the thing is, I feel like Akita with another year or so of practice, because she's like 16 or 17, she's still very young. So I feel like Akita definitely has that potential to step up into the big leagues because the numbers that she's been putting up have been incredible. Vanya as well is somebody who I feel is very slept on in terms of just being one of the best players in the world, not just the GC scene, I would say. I mean, I do have a little bit of a, I am a little bit of a Vanya fangirl to admit, but you know, I do really like her, so I probably bet on Vanya for that. But also, I mean, in terms of NA, I think SRN or Americas rather, SRN is just one of the strongest players out there. Like this player was breaking the records that Aspas had been setting. You know, the most kills in a best of five, the most kills in a game, all that kind of crap. So just incredible performances coming in from SRN, I would say. And I feel like that's one of the main players why MIBR is actually here right now. They won the LCQ, and SRN was a major part of that.
Fair enough. Let's have a look at your let's have a look at the bracket and kind of theory craft through some of the earlier matchups. We'll have your pick'ems soon as well, and get your opinions in writing, and then they're locked in. You can't change it, and then we'll see how right you are towards the end. Well, let's just go from the picture here then. So Ninetales and Nova on the first upper bracket. So is it just it's just like a regular? Oh yeah, because the picture cuts off. So it's just like a full
hmm
double bracket, double elimination bracket. Fucking hell, I can't speak. So yeah, Ninetales Nova. First of all, the winner going against G2. After that, who are you thinking on the first one?
I'm just gonna say Ninetales because they looked really strong, and I think Nova also dominated. Both teams dominated their individual regions, but and I really like Shirazi on Nova. I think she's one of the stronger players in the GC scene in Asia in general. But I feel like Ninetales as a roster looked much more convincing in terms of their individual playstyles as well as traits. So I again, there's a little bit of bias here because I've actually seen their games, I've casted their games. Nova, I just watched a couple of VODs, but. I would probably lean towards Ninetales in this particular matchup because I feel like they're individually, I feel like every player on this team is stronger than the individuals on Nova. Maybe Nova will prove me wrong and be like, yeah, Zach, you're wrong. You don't sleep on the Chinese team. But I don't know. I feel like Ninetales just that hometown buff and the level of adaptability and synergy they showed during the Pacific tournament. Like their star player, like their star duelist Dana is like 16 years, and you know having such a young team, being able to keep things together and actually qualify, beating teams like Falcons, it's incredible.
Fair enough, absolutely. I did some digging to get your pick'ems up now. Just because we've got them, but I need to publish it. And we're seeing how the sausage is made there. But yeah, so you can actually see it in full, with all the spoilers. So Ninetales going through MIBR against Giant X. So from what you're saying about like some of MIBR's members, I'm guessing they're the favourites there. But like GX is like, am I right in thinking they're usually one of the EMEA teams that's like in and around the top of EMEA at least?
See, I would have probably put GX a little bit higher here. You're right because during stage one and stage two they were the runner up in both events, but stage three they made some roster changes and I don't know what they were trying to cook, but they kind of messed it up. So I'm not really
But
happy with their stage three roster, the one that's coming to champs. I mean, no shade on the individual players, but I think the older version looked a lot more coherent in terms of their gameplay, and they looked. I mean, they've been playing together for like two whole splits, so you know, making changes to that when I mean, I guess coming second sucks, but you know what sucks more? Not coming second and coming like third or fourth or fifth or whatever. So, you
yeah,
know.
that's odd. I wonder why that would have happened because I mean, for any team like that's just like a bit of a. I mean, it's a massive risk, isn't it? That runners up twice. I guess you do that because you think we need to change something to get first. Um, but yeah, that's an odd choice. So LIBR going through, Ninetales going through. So then in the second round, G2. So spoiler then, you've got G2 to the final, almost through the entire upper bracket. So they'll win the next couple of games. So G2 beating Ninetales, but then it's Team Liquid against Crew. Um, Tell me about these teams.
Okay, so G2 beating Ninetales. Honestly, I think Ninetales could surprise us here, but I'm gonna vote on G2 just because they're the more veteran team and they looked really, really good during stage 3. And I also really I like the idea of the head-to-head between Dana and Akita, both very young duelist players who have just been signed by these teams individually. And I mean, I like the backstory for Ninetales as well because apparently the beginning of the year, some big streamer was just holding tryouts on his stream, and that's how this team kind of started, and they went on to win like I think 22 or 23 games without losing anything. Like they lost their first match in Pacific to Zipto. They had a very, very consistent year. So despite G2 looking a little bit more rocky, I think their stage performance made them above Ninetales. But honestly, I think that could surprise us. The same with TLV as well, because TLV, see, I like the team, but I do think that them losing Bastarda, who has been one of the backbones for this team, so as to speak, is a little bit of a heartbreaker. So Bastarda has been a very integral player, IGL, for this team for the last 2-3 years, but she moved over to MIBR this year. And even though TLV beat MIBR in the Brazil final, it was a very, very close final. I think it went to like all 5 maps or something. And the fact is MIBR is still here, and I feel like they've been able to kind of fix those mistakes heading forward. That said, all of these teams, I'm not sure how the new patch is going to affect them, because I think that having all of these patch changes come in right before a tournament is pretty
Yeah.
damn stupid. But especially when you've been playing the whole year on a different patch. So I don't know if that's going to have any impact on these particular players. But yeah, Crew as well, I think one of the most consistent teams. They've consistently been dominating LATAM. I think they're the only team here who's pretty much qualified every year apart from SRG. I mean, SRG's roster qualified under another name. They were C9 White in the beginning. But yeah, I think that them and G2 have been like the consistent people who have been showing up every year.
Yeah. There's a good point about the patch as well. Like it is just bang out of order. Like there's no other way to put it. So obviously the patch, I forget the patch number, but the one where like just all the sweeping changes came in of all the ability cooldown changes and everything. And Riot were
New
like,
agents.
yeah, Riot was like sort of apologetic about it. But then I mean, it's up to them, like, because they do these things sometimes, or where they say like, oh well, we didn't want to do this, but we had to because of this other situation. So it's like, oh, we had to because of the timing of this and this. It was like, but it's everything within their own ecosystem. Like they decide everything. So if there's anything
Yeah.
that blocks something, or there's any reason that certain things have to happen a certain way, and that messes up with other things, well, all of the every aspect is controlled by them at the end of the day. So like I don't really see there's any reason why they couldn't have just let them play on an older patch until the tournament's finished. I don't really see that would have been an issue. I guess like
Mm-hmm.
technically it's like a bit of work they'd have to do because they'd have to make sure they've got like servers or something to play on. But then all the teams are going to be there on site anyway, so they'll all be mostly scrimming each other. It would be a bit tricky by the end of the tournament. Maybe teams wouldn't have anyone to scrim that would be bothered to stick around because it's not really going to be helpful once you're out. So that's like the
Mm-hmm.
only downside I could see. As I say, apart from like a bit of extra work from Riot, but still, just having
I mean,
it is a joke because you qualify the whole year
it's a joke.
on like a
One
very
patch, yeah.
different Valorant. Obviously, there's patch changes through the whole year anyway, but it was such big changes that it's really out of order, and it also just makes it kind of just makes the tournament a bit like harder
More of a
to
wild card.
like maybe so like sort of harder to set up narratives in a way because you can say, oh, this team's been best here, this team's been best here, but then if if the whole meta could potentially be changing, then things can go out the window. Like I think we said it at the time when the patch came out. It's just like a much more extreme version of like the Tahoe thing ahead of Toronto, where like G2 was a team that looked like that might have been a hindrance to them, and it can just like totally flip a team's fortunes. I don't know, not a fan of that at all myself, and I doubt that many of
I
the teams
completely
here
agree
are
with you.
either. Yeah, you really feel
Now, a
for
lot
them.
of players were talking about it on Twitter, and of course, the one thing I will appreciate about Leo Faria is that he opens his
I think we lost you for a
mouth
second there.
and answers things. I don't. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yep, you're back. You're saying that you like that Leo
Yeah, yeah.
Faria will
I think I
respond.
liked, yeah. I was just saying, I appreciate that Leo Faria comes out with answers for the community. I just don't like those answers most of the time because I think they're fucking stupid. But yeah, I mean, you don't introduce this patch during Champions. You make sure that you drop it after Ascension because that's an important tournament. And just don't give a shit about GC, which is kind of screwed up. Their whole argument was like, yeah, our off season is shorter this year, so we wanted to put it into play earlier so teams can practice on it for next year's competitive season. All right, bro, your competitive year is not over. You still have one more international tournament coming up. Do you not give a shit about it? It's just really stupid. And I mean, like you said, it's good in a way because it does test teams on adaptability. But if you wouldn't do it to Champions and you wouldn't do it to Ascension, why do you feel okay
Yeah.
doing it to GC? You say you care about it, but yeah, that's just not a that's not a good way to show care. That's like the nicest thing I can say about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, you could literally make the same argument for Ascension then, because you could say, right, the off season's short, so it's better for us to make this change now, because teams wouldn't have been exactly waiting for Ascension to happen before they would have been starting doing trials and trialing players for roster moves. So they would have been doing trials on an old patch as well. So you could argue there they should have made the changes the day after champs finish, so that the off season can be used to its full extent. But obviously they wouldn't, because that is ridiculous to make Ascension play on a brand new patch. Same way it is for game changers as well. I mean, it is stupid. Well, bringing it back to the bracket then, and this was the big surprise for me then. So clearly you've got huge faith in MIBR to immediately put Shopify into the lower bracket.
Yeah, so I'm gonna explain that, but there is a little bit of I know this is a very controversial take, but I think that MIBR's duelist is just better than SRG's duelist, because last year as well I think the grand final was MIBR versus SRG, and it was a close final. Yes, SRG ended up winning it, but I think MIBR definitely put up a good fight, and a lot of that fight was because of SRN, and SRN versus um Fluorescent was kind of the battle to see. And without Fluorescent, I don't know. Maybe Donut is going to step up to that level. I think she has been incredible with FlyQuest in the past, and she's been able to kind of stick with the team and dominate NA this year. But I don't know. I feel like SRN is just more of a aggressive or a scary player, I would say, in comparison. So that's probably going to be the main reason I'm putting this team above. Um, they also have Bastarda this year. Like I was talking, they got a really good IGL, old Team Liquid Brazil player who's on this team. So I think they have a couple of very strong pieces. And even though they qualified through an LCQ, I think they are definitely one of the strongest teams here. And honestly, I want G2 to win, or I want Zip2 or SRG to win, but I feel like these guys are going to end up lifting their first trophy. Something tells me that. I don't know.
And it's a big matchup to have that early on as well. So it's like maybe just a bit of an unlucky draw for both of them. Yeah, like you say, especially both finalists from last year, and then they're straight away second round of the upper bracket. Potentially depends if GX
Really,
win.
yeah.
But anyway, um, what should I know about KC? That's one team we haven't really spoken about yet. And I
Yeah, I
don't
think
really.
KC.
Oh yeah, go on.
Oh, I was just saying they're one of the better teams, I would say. I feel like KC could beat Zipto. They've got a couple of really strong players. I'm just having my Pacific copium here. I'll be honest with it. I think that Zipto is a very strong team in their own right, and they've like really leveled up this year. But I think that KC has been very, very consistent. They won both of the splits in EMEA, both stage 1 and stage 2. And even though they finished like third or fourth or something like that in the final splits, overall, I think they were the most consistent team this year in EMEA in terms of GC. So I think I definitely think their GC team plays better than their main team at this point. Not saying much, with KC's performance this year, but it's funny to make the joke anyway. But yeah, I think KC definitely a very strong contender here. Honestly, this matchup, it's just my Pacific copium. I like both teams very much, and I really like the players on KC as well. I think Alkia was really incredible on BBL and a couple of other teams in the last couple of years. She's really leveled up as well, and yeah, just individual talent. Safia has been just a really, really good sentinel. And their IGL GX was like on a couple of free agent teams. They signed her this year. And I think that the IGLing has just been top class from this team. They were able to consistently like outcall GX, outcall G2 during stage 1 and stage 2. So yeah, I feel like this is definitely a team to watch. And I think they are very easily a top 4 contender. It's just that side of the bracket just seems so stacked. It's kind of scary.
Yeah. Cool. The rest of these then, in fairness, are like all predictions uh based on the assumption that the previous ones are all right. So it might not be worth us drilling down too much into it. But let's look at some of like the broader predictions that you get from the bracket then. And I guess that like one of the obvious first ones is then Shopify not even getting to the final. Um, but yeah, I guess it's like you said, it's not like as clear cut that they are the favorites. Would you say like, or what's like the general consensus of who the general favorites are?
I mean, I would say the top three is G2, MIBR, and SRG, just by historical performance as well as the last tournament that all these teams played. They looked really strong. Because MIBR won 3-1, I think in the LCQ. G2 got a 3-0 win in their Stage 3 trophy. And Shopify just won all three splits. So, I mean, regional team for sure. But I think I don't know, something just makes me, after watching all these teams play, I feel like G2 and MIBR just have a little bit more punch to some of their rounds. SRG is a much more meticulous team, and I feel like having that kind of wild card firepower, just doing stuff and getting away with it, is something that often these very synergistic teams seem to kind of struggle against. So I'm not sure how it's gonna go. In terms of IGLing, I think that SRG definitely have one of the strongest IGLs in the scene, with the Mel kind of leading the charge there. But in terms of firepower, I think that G2 and MIB are just slightly outclassed SRG, I would say. So that's my take on it.
Is there any other? Have you got any other things in here where where you've done like some mad theory crafting? Because sometimes when you have to do like predictions this deep into a bracket without knowing if anything's correct, I sort of end up thinking, well, this team could beat this team, and then against this guy's this person's going to choke, and you have to just kind of imagine what could happen when you get in this deep. Have you got any like mad predictions that you've done on it?
I mean, I'm assuming that Ninetales is not going to choke because they are, I think, one of the youngest rosters here. Everybody on the team is very young. They haven't been in the GC scene as much as some of these other veteran teams, like all three of the EMEA reps are crew, or even both of the Brazilian teams are SRG. They're like definitely the new kids on the block, so I think they could choke. This does not account for them choking. Same with Zipto as well, because unfortunately, I think the best finish that Pacific has been able to see till date is a top three. So you know, I don't know if they'll be able to make it further. I have them coming third or fourth, Zipto coming third or fourth. But I would be very happy if they surprised me and made a run all the way. Like nobody would be happier than me because I actually know these guys personally. So there's a little bit of bias there that I tried not to let leak in. That said, I think KC going out in top six is probably a little bit of a hot take. I feel like they could beat SRG if the cards play out right. I think they definitely have the firepower and the talent, I would say, to do it. I just feel like SRG has been historically more consistent over the last few years, in case he has been. They've been consistent this year, but I don't know if they're gonna choke on that big stage. That's about it.
Um, cool. In that case, I think well that's the whole bracket. You've got MIBR winning, so congrats MIBR on the championship.
If they win, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see in just under a couple of weeks if you're correct. What's your how confident are you? So, as you say, like top three could be close. It could go to any of them. If you had to put money on it, how much would you be willing to put? How much, like, how confident are you that it could be MLER?
I mean, I probably wouldn't put money on it, but I would bet that this would be the top three. I would these teams are going to be your
Yeah.
top three teams. I think it could go anyway depending on who's playing better. And there's always like I don't know why every single GC tournament some team seems to be getting sick. So it happened in Champions as well, right? So yeah, assuming that everybody's playing at full health and stuff, I feel like this could be the case. But there's always like all of these different things that come up, so you can't really account for it. Korea is also going to be really cold. I was looking at the temperatures and it was like 10 degrees Celsius or something. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit for people watching from NA and stuff. Just put it in a calculator or something. But yeah.
Let me see. But 50 Fahrenheit apparently.
Yeah,
But
it's pretty cold.
yeah, because Lowell Park like it's pretty tight as well. It's not like obviously it's not going to be like a big arena final or something where the players are miles away. Like in Lowell Park, you're not the fans. It's all like quite a tight arena. And yeah, the general like public areas like will be pretty packed. So if something's going around, like everyone's getting it probably. So fingers crossed, everyone's gonna be fine. Well, to be fair as well, like in Korea, people wear masks all the time. At least like when I went was in the summer as well, when it's not even like not really much illness going around. Still, then loads of people will be wearing masks. So they're sensible over there. So hopefully that's all fine then. Any last comments on game changers then before we go on to some of the other topics?
I think I'm really excited to see who's going to be winning it this year because it's the first year we have 10 teams. But that's it. I really do think that Riot needs to work on slot allocation because right now it feels like Pacific is very underrepresented, so as to speak. And I don't know, I feel like with all the teams that are competing in SCA and the level of how close these conflicts are, like it really sucks to not have Falcons here, for example. So if it had been like a 12-team bracket, it would have probably made a little bit more sense because you would have been able to get them in as well. But I don't know, closing thoughts. I think it's going to be a very charged up, intense tournament for sure.
Looking forward to it. Okay, so let's move on to some other news then. And there was good timing on a big story that broke last night. Good timing for us, at least, to come on here and talk about it. Always love those ones when I'm looking for topics. Same with League as well. Actually, last two episodes that we've had for League of Legends, literally like loads of roster news dropped like literally the night before we recorded. So it's just been actually no, not even the night before. We've been recording in the evenings the last couple of weeks, and the news has broken like an hour before we're going to record. Perfect. So Riot have done us a favour here again today as well. The favour that they've not done is to Talon, who are now out of the VCT. So Riot Games terminates Talon Esports VCT Pacific partnership. Worth saying as well that their League of Legends team that competed in the LCP is also kicked out. But yeah, what they said on the VCT partnership. Riot Games has made the decision to terminate Talon Esports partnership agreement with the Valorant Champions Tour and remove the team from VCT Pacific. This decision follows Talon's failure to operate and manage its team in accordance with league standards, including a pattern of significantly overdue payments to players and an inability to demonstrate sufficient financial capacity to continue participating in the VCT. It says they were made aware of delayed payments to players and other financial issues. They worked with Talon, granted them extensions to allow Talon to show improvement, I guess to show that they are going to get the money from somewhere. But it says they were ultimately unable to meet the standards. Yeah, the players. This says the players have been informed and are allowed to explore opportunities. I'd assume that means they're free agents, like what happened with Koi, where like immediately. But one thing there is that Riot's statement about Koi did specifically say the players would be free agents, I'm pretty sure. Whereas this one doesn't. So that's a little bit of odd, different wording, although it's, I guess, maybe depends who's making these statements. They might just word it differently. And it says they've invited a number of teams in APAC to do a selection process. So maybe let's start unpacking that. So I think rumors or reports of Talon's financial issues aren't exactly unknown. So they did have. I mean, it's been circulating for a couple of months, really. So I think the first rumor was that like one of the Talon's owners or Talon's owner owed money to like another org owner.
Oh yeah, I remember reading that.
Yeah, so apparently like they owed money. So I've got it here actually on my other screen. There was a tweet from Hedgehog, who I don't know who that is. I think it must be like to do with another org. But it says that Talon approached them to borrow $1 million a couple of months ago. They stated it would be a loan for 1 to 2 weeks, but ended up being almost 2 months. It said that eventually it was repaid, but they still owed them interest, and now they're not responding. And then, yeah, I think this person like tagged in a couple of people from Talon. Here's a notice to all of your players about your behaviour, and tagged in Riot Games. So just going kind of scorched earth. This person that had been repaid apparently this loan, but without the interest that was agreed. But even if any part of that being true, it's just like not a good look at all for a tier 1 esports, or the fact that you're like having to borrow those sums of money in that way. Like if you're a professional, any kind of professional business, if you're trying to get some money together, which sometimes businesses do want a bit of money up front because they're investing in something, and businesses take loans. It's not like unheard of. But yeah, to be doing it like to your mate, like, oh, buddy, can I borrow $1 million from you quickly, and I swear I'll pay it back in a couple of weeks. Like, it's very, very unprofessional just out the gates, and yeah, not a great look. But then that sort of started things unraveling, where there were more kind of rumors coming out that there were struggles with money. I guess if you're literally having to borrow £1 million from your mate, that tells you that the org's probably not in a great spot. More recently, at the start of this month, they'd been kind of dropping a lot of titles. They dropped a PUBG mobile team. Honor of Kings, Dota 2 was all being dropped, and then there were rumors that the Valorant players were not getting paid, or were not getting paid in full, which clearly this confirms now. I mean, Riot have come out and said it. Delayed payments to players in the statement, which I think, I mean, it's probably lucky Riot even would give them much of a chance to fix it. Like, I feel like not having delayed payments to players is just like an absolute no-no. Like, there's no way that's acceptable. And yeah, I feel like I'd almost just immediately on the spot kick a team out if they did that. Well, not like kick them out straight away, but at the end of the year they're out, and there's no way they can not be out, essentially. Yeah, I think that's like, as far as running an org, that's pretty much step one, is paying the players. And if you can't do that, then
Yeah.
that's really not a good look at all. But yeah, what were your thoughts what was your reaction just when you saw that news?
Funnily enough, my first reaction was like, not again, because I think it was last year or the year
Bleed.
before, but I think 2023, yeah. And Bleed did the same thing. They were like, yeah, we're not gonna pay our players and stuff. And they got kicked for the same reason. So, and last time around, funnily enough, Boom Sports got the slot because they were the second place team in Ascension. And funnily enough, this year as well, they are the second place team in Ascension. But I do think that I read somewhere that Riot Jaker, who is kind of like the head for the Pacific region, he mentioned that he wanted a Thai team, and I agree. I think that with all the Thai talent that we've seen and the events that have been happening, and how enthusiastic Thai players are in general, I think that there should be a Thai team, in the VCT. So I think that probably the best replacement in terms of logistics would probably be Full Sense, because they look pretty nice during Ascension, and I think that they're also a team. They're also like an organization that has historically been really well. They've had some GC teams, they've had some tier 2 teams and stuff. So I would probably like to have Full Sense get a chance here. But that said, I mean, I think whoever does get a shot here should definitely pick up like the Talon squad, because they were one game away, like one map away from making it to champions. And the fact that RRQ were able to kind of like win that game was wild to me. Talon were like really informed during the second stage of Pacific. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I would like to see the players find a home at least.
Well, we've got I've got that statement from from Jake Sin, where he says that our priority is to identify a team that can resonate with our Thai community to ensure we maintain representation of VCT Pacific. He also says about the players. He says, I've spoken directly with the affected players about their options, which again is not publicly saying that they're free agents on the spot. Which does strike me as odd that there'll be two different statements that don't mention that. If it is the case, I don't see why it wouldn't be the case if the team's out. But anyway, worth clarifying, I think. So yeah, we're looking likely a Thai team, and if you remember back to the Gentlemates announcement, then Riot had said what their criteria was, and it was like firstly just obviously being like an organization that can show you can run a team, like money wise, logistics wise, that you physically can set up a team, and you've got the capacity to do that. But also it said about like showing a willingness to want to be competitive and being able to resonate with the community, and a few different things like that. So enormous fumble by Talon. It has to be said. Like, the VCT partnership model is one of the best leagues you could be, or like the best ecosystems you can be in esports. Like, money wise, you're getting loads of the revenue share a year without being in a franchise where you have to pay upfront money. Like it's um, there's no better one to be in. Like I'm sure they'll be annoyed that they're not in League of Legends anymore because actually in League you don't have the same kind of parity with the regions. So like Korea and China are always the big dogs. But LCP has been a region where they'd usually have like one or two teams that are way better than the rest, but and then they kind of can compete a decent with a decent effort internationally. And PSG Talon had been one of those teams from the LCP that was almost always at the World Championships, always at MSI. And yeah, as like a Western fan who sees these teams come over for Worlds, they were the one that you always kind of expecting to see, and they had like legendary players on there the last couple of years. So that would have, that would probably maybe brand wise would be a hit to them as well. Not that that would be their biggest priority right now when they can't even pay people. But yeah, I mean, it kind of sounds like the org is not on a good trajectory. So the Talon did make its own statement, and it said, "We acknowledge the recent allegations around our financial situation, regards matters of governance seriously, and we are committed to addressing them in a responsible and transparent manner. While operations remain stable and in the interest of transparency, we would like to acknowledge there have been unforeseen administrative delays in prize pool distributions." So they're currently blaming it, on not having prize pool money coming in time. Elsewhere, I saw something about investment money didn't come in that they were expecting. I'm not sure where I saw. Oh wait, sorry, I'm being stupid. This is literally their bloody old statement when the first things came out. There's a newer one. Let me see. I think it might be on like a Talon. If they got like a Valorant Twitter. Hold on, I'm gonna find it. But they made. Okay, here I've got it actually. So they made a new statement. So actually, that's a good point. To be fair, that I've stumbled on that. So in August, when the first rumors came out, they said it was administrative delays in prize pool distributions. That was the issue. They've made a new statement after being kicked from VCT, and here it says, they accept the decision. We do think we could resolve the issues, but we respect the decision. Blah blah blah. Our current financial difficulties are primarily the result of several months of delays in funding from our
Mm.
current financing round, which was originally scheduled to be completed much earlier this year, which is not a prize pool distribution delay. So they've given two different reasons, a few months apart, when the overarching thing is financial issues, and having to take loans off your mates to be able to keep running your org. So the fact that stories change is not ideal, or even if it's true, and they had financial issues because they were relying on a prize pool, and then they've maybe, let's imagine that that was true, and maybe the money's come in, but now this other financing round that they were expecting was delayed, and that's making them struggle. They're basically like going paycheck to paycheck by the sounds of it, even if what they're saying is true, which again is not ideal. It doesn't it doesn't scream professionalism, or just generally having like a good plan and running things smoothly. I guess like if the prize pool thing was true, that's like that is a bit harsher on them, I suppose. Where you could, because some orgs would be, the prize for money would be part of running the org, and it's like your reward for running a good org and finishing well. So you shouldn't be entirely dependent on that, but can, to an extent, is understandable. But to be reliant on a financing round to be kind of the only way that you can like generally run the org and play your players is not great. Like you're not going to do financing rounds every few weeks. That's something you do. I mean, people don't even do it that much anymore because of esports winter and all that. So yes, not a good look all round. I did see. I'm sure there was a response from or a tweet from Frost. I'm trying to check that as well. Where was along the lines of this statement is a load of rubbish. Sure, I saw. Let me look for that. Sorry, 1 second.
No,
What were
no
your?
worries. There's been a lot of.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, go ahead. What were you gonna ask?
I was going to ask you to fill in the space for me while I'm
Sure.
looking for this.
Okay, so I mean, my thoughts about the situation, I think all the points that you made are really good, and I feel bad for Talon because I think they're sorry, I'm a little bit under the weather, but yeah, basically, I feel like they're one of the teams that had like really fun social media. I think that their whole team seemed to be like a very good family, and they looked really good as well as a roster. So for me personally, I just hope the players find a good home because it's coming in after all the roster mania is over and teams have already started like showcasing their rosters in the off season. So I don't know if all of the players are going to be able to get a good home. Like I think Primi, for example, is definitely like an easy snap for any team that wants to kind of upgrade their firepower. But as a roster, I think that they're really underrated. I really like Cruz as a player, so I just hope that the players can find themselves a good home and they're able to play in VCT next year because it will be a damn shame if they're not around. But yeah, it just sucks that. I mean, like you said, Riot gave them time. They tried to fix it, but it sucks that they weren't able to push through because I think Talon was probably one of my favorite orgs from last year
Yeah.
in VCT.
I wonder on the timing of it as well because it's not like the revelations of this financial stuff is new. Like we're seeing their first statement was from August, so clearly there would have been like an investigation going for a while, and it does make me wonder why they wouldn't have pulled the trigger on this a bit earlier. Like because now if you are these players, if just thinking like off season perspective, the timing of this is not great. Like there could be players on here that we're expecting to stay. Maybe they're still under contract. Um, that's a point actually. I'll check the contract database. But if they were still under contract and those players weren't allowed to look elsewhere, and now the team is disbanded potentially, and there's going to be a new team taking the place, those players could definitely suffer. My guess, just from like piecing the stuff together, where they haven't said that they're free agents and they've just said, oh, we'll tell the players what their options are. My guess is maybe whatever team comes in would be offered or would have to take over the contracts that exist. That's the only reason I could think that they wouldn't be free agents already. But yeah, I've got it open now. Let me just see. Literally every one of their players was under contract till next year at least. So none of their players would have been free agents. So they, currently before yesterday, while the team was technically still in the league, none of these players would have been allowed to look elsewhere unless Talon had allowed them already. So it's a bit of a mess there. I can only presume that their contracts would need to be taken over by whichever team comes in. And that's only right, really. Otherwise, the players are just like completely fucked because it's the end of the off season. And most teams are, would have made the most of their choices already. The bit that because I was remembering I saw, and I only remember this like half asleep scrolling my phone when I woke up this morning. That I remember seeing Frost reply to some statement. It wasn't actually to Talon's statement. It was to Valo to Asia, like reposted a quote from the Jake Sin statement where he said about the selection process and whatnot. And the part that they quoted in their tweet was saying was the part for looking for a replacement team. They want they'd ideally want a Thai team or a team that can resonate with the Thai community. We'll share more when we can, and I appreciate your support. So they took one paragraph and tweeted out. And then Frost, obviously the former Talon coach, he's replied to it saying, by the way, that statement is straight cap. And that's in reply to Jake Sin's statement. So that's an interesting part that I don't, and that's very vague as to what part of it he's talking about, obviously. And you could take that in a million ways, but also it's that kind of takes to my like initial reaction to that is that he like would feel that some part of it's probably unfair. And again, this is like reading massively into a very vague comment that he's replied onto it. But you would usually think like if you were on a team that was struggling to be paid and that, you'd probably, if you were going to come out with any public grievance about anything, it would be usually against the team. So the fact that he's coming out against the Riot statement maybe tells me that within the team that they might not have completely agreed with that, or might have their issues with that. And actually, even I've just seen now he's just retweeted a tweet from 12 minutes ago, Someone presumably was an employee at Talon that said, "We've been laid off, but trust me, Talon is the best org, always taking care of the people till the end." It's
I
all
think that was their coach, yeah.
right, yeah. So it's all
Jovi,
because
right?
of who do you say?
Was it Jovi's tweet that you're reading,
No, this
or?
one, Radjo Skittles is the Twitter account.
Oh, because Jovi wrote something similar, like Talon's coach. Like he just put a very vague tweet a few hours ago, like "uh-oh," like an hour before the announcement, and he was just quoting like all the people, like the team manager, the social media person, the players, and he was just saying like, yeah, these guys don't deserve to be in VCT and stuff, and he was kind of saying the same thing that you were mentioning. So it was just
Yeah,
interesting to see.
yeah, and they're even saying like this person is like tagging the CEO and founder, the one that like was said to have needed the loan to keep things running. But they said it's all because of the boss, like the good things about Talon is all because of him. Trust me, they're the best at balancing things that will benefit all employees. This is not someone's fault. So it seems within Talon, like the people that you would in this scenario that would have been aggrieved are back in the org and don't agree with the decision. So um, that's very interesting because I don't know. Have you seen any players, any of the players come out at all? That would
No,
be
I
the
only saw
one.
Jovi's.
Yeah, that would be
I
the
only
one
saw
that
their
interests
coach.
me. If they're saying that there were struggles to pay the players, obviously if the players would come out and say that the org was fine, then things would be a bit different. But um, yeah, it's interesting all round that a lot of people in Talon, yeah, really don't agree. Even just like the regular employees that should have been badly affected by whatever issues they were having. And yeah, for Frost to just straight up say that Riot's statement, whatever part of it he's alluding to, or the whole thing is a load of rubbish. I
I don't
feel like
think he
this
said it
is.
was rubbish. It was more just like, yeah, I hope everybody finds a good home, etc., etc. But the tweet that
No, I'm
Frost said
saying
that, but I
no,
think
no
what
Frost,
Jovi,
where he just replied saying it's straight cap the statement.
yeah, that was kind of wild, yeah. And Jovi's uh-oh was just like, oh wow,
Yeah. So
okay.
I feel like this is. I mean, it's just come out and it's developing. I suppose this is one that you feel like you'll probably hear more as time goes on. Sort of like with the bleed thing, where initially it was a bit of a shock and then yeah, kind of rolled out over a few days and weeks. So um, yeah, we'll stay tuned for more on that one. I think. Now, somebody else, a player that certainly can feel aggrieved by their org,
Oh God.
is G2's JonahP. I have not got a clue what's going on here. I mean, this is another one where surely stuff is going to come out about this and help to clear things up from this perspective. But basically, we had right on the eve of Red Bull Homeground this announcement that JonahP was out of G2. So technically, he's still contracted to them right now. I think he's posted that he's like a restricted free agent, essentially meaning like G2 is allowing him to speak to anybody, and I don't think they want a buyout. I don't remember if that was part of it or not, but essentially he can
No, no,
speak to
no
any.
buyout, no buyout. Like,
Right.
there's no buyout. I
So
think I
they're
saw a
letting
tweet
him.
regarding that. So
Yeah. So
yeah, they're letting him find a new team, which
he's
is the least they can
technically.
fucking do. You
Yeah,
know.
exactly. So he's under contract, and if he doesn't find a team, he's under contract with them still, on the bench, obviously. But if a team wants him, they're not gonna stand in his way. But so that came out. Then it was announced that Baby Bay would be staying on as his replacement, which, as a one-to-one change, on the face of it, is quite bizarre to begin with. Then there was some confusion where they said so. G2's tweet said like "Welcome to Baby Bay, who's our new Sentinel," and then they edited
And
the
then they
tweet
changed it. Yeah.
to not say that. And then there was a thought that
Something about Smeeg. The Smeeg is back. Yeah, I
yeah,
remember that edit.
which people are taking as because they want him like they want to use him for double duelist. I think he did play some duelist and at Red Bull Homeground as well, so that kind of makes sense. So, um, but beyond that, there was an interview. So basically, the thought is right. Okay, Baby Bay's coming in, and when you see that initially, it looks like right. Baby Bay's probably there for Rebel Homeground, and then they were. You'd presume if they're getting rid of JonahP that there's some kind of bigger roster move coming. and Sage Datuin had an interview with Josh RT, G2's coach, where he asked him like, well, he sort of said, "Is Baby Bay just for Red Bull home ground then?" Because I think at that point it hadn't even been announced. He kind of leaked it to him in the interview before it had been announced publicly, and so he sort of asked then like, what's the deal with Baby Bay? Is it for the whole year? Is it for Red Bull home ground? And he wouldn't say, which is
Ooh, sneaky,
very
sneaky.
interesting. Which, well, I mean, let's be real. That tells you that it's their intention wasn't to have Baby Bay for the whole year. I don't really see any other way of interpreting that. Otherwise, if they did, you
Maybe
would.
he just didn't want to. Maybe he just didn't want to say it because of all the rancor it would provoke since the official JonahP thing hadn't gone out yet. But I'm not sure.
Well, but anyway, like during the interview, that they'd said like, we're just, you will delay the interview. We just won't post the interview till it's public, that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, and that's normal. So he was very coy on that as to whether Baby Bay would be there the whole time. But then also, there's more stuff keeps unraveling. So, JonahP's partner had been
She
on.
used to she used to work at Riot, by the way. Her name used to be Riot Ballerina before I think the
Oh
layoffs
right,
happened like a few years
oh
ago.
shit. So yeah, so she made a couple of tweets about it, which have not painted G2 in a very good light, to say the least. So I'll just read this quickly. So the first one said, roster changes are inevitable. Movement is not what makes this so sad. I've known these players and staff and their families for 4 years, and I'm crying daily because due to how shameful the process was. We barely heard from anyone. Jorgamo was a single person that reached out with genuine compassion. Actually, sorry, I think that was the second tweet, and the other one was saying, surely this decision was made with grace and dignity, and in a way that the leaders in place are really proud of. Obviously,
I remember that one. That was so
sarcastically.
snarky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
surely it reflected the respect deserved for a player and teammate who's been part of a core for 4 years. Surely there's a really non-shameful reason it happened so late. And then to cap it off, and I think there's been a couple of instances similar to this, but one thing on FNS's co-stream of Red Bull Homeground, he was talking to Kiko and Mada from NRG, and Mada explained that the way he understood it was that the way it happened, or what's happened with their roster, wasn't supposed to happen. So I think the
Wow.
clear thing is, to me, is that it wasn't meant to be Baby Bay. So they clearly had some other expectation of who was going to come in, and yeah, I guess at the last minute the pieces didn't line up for them to fit how they wanted, and at that point they decided already that they wanted to have someone to come in to fill in the the more specific roles that they want, and at that point they felt that Baby Bay was the better option. There was one, so the thing that made the one that seemed likely to me, just as like a basic 1-to-1 move, maybe would have been Kiko. Like maybe they thought they had a chance of getting him, because Kiko himself had said that the agreement with NRG was quite late. He said that he thought like he did terrible in the tryouts, and then at the last minute they said like, oh yeah, we'll sign you, and he didn't expect it. But
Oh,
maybe he thought he wasn't going to get on, and he'd been speaking to G2, and then NRG did want him after all, and he said like, fine, I'll sign. And G2 kind of got left, maybe got left scrambling. There was one on one of the Reddit threads. There was someone theory crafting on there that seemed to actually make like half decent sense. And then people came back to it after the Madder thing as well. The Madder statement. He said, this person, I like wins, said, I think G2 might have been going for Kiko at one point. Kiko said he had a couple of options and then chose NRG pretty late. There were also rumours of Valen and Trent to MIBR, so Kiko would have been their controller with Jonah staying, and Baby Bay playing Sentinel with Leaf flexing. By the time MIBR was fully formed and Valen and Trent decided to re-sign, it was pretty late. G2 scrambled to keep the roles and simply replaced JonahP to allow them to play with the new roles. That would maybe
yeah.
explain more of this stuff of like the players not like communicating with each other properly, because half of them were thinking of leaving. So you could understand how like the whole vibe in the team might have been off, and people weren't communicating properly because they were all kind of doing their own thing and trying to get the moves that they wanted. And I guess if in that scenario, Jorgamo would have been the one that was staying no matter what, so he would have been, maybe more likely to be the one that would communicate and would be acting more normally with JonahP. So I think it's another one where we're going to just find out over time sort of what really has happened. But I mean, it's bizarre. What do you make of it?
I think it's really screwed over. It's also fucked up because G2 kind of did a similar thing to Net. So for context, I think when G2 hadn't signed this team yet, and they were still the guard when they won Ascension, the guard screwed up with financial
Yeah.
stuff. It seems like teams always suck at that shit. So yeah, they didn't sign the contract in time, so they couldn't make it to VCT, and G2 were allowed to pick up this roster, but Net was immediately dropped. And I know Net didn't say a lot about it, but he saw it sounded pretty screwed up as well. Maybe not this screwed up. But yeah, I mean, I was looking at the stats, and I don't know, man. I don't know if Jonah is the person you really want to kick, because number one, this guy is playing like the flex role. He's playing a full support role, and he's honestly, in terms of just raw stats, he's definitely in the top 5 in the world for the kind of flex role that he plays. So I don't know if you necessarily want to get rid of him. That's the G2. They were so cocky last year. Like, yeah, this is our golden era. We're gonna win trophies, and they couldn't lift a single trophy outside of NA. So, which continues to be the case. Like, yes, they won Red Bull home grounds, but again, it was a final against an NA team. So I don't know, Chief. And it was NRG who they've never lost to yet. So I don't know about that, but in terms of just Jonah, I think it really, really sucks. I mean, no shit on Baby Bay. I like Baby Bay. Maybe it's a personality thing. I don't know. Baby Bay just brings in like that more chaotic, happy energy. He always reminds me a little bit of like I don't know, like his interviews and stuff. He's always so excited to be around, and he's very energetic. So I can see why he might be like a better fit in terms of atmosphere, because he's just more fun, and you kind of need someone like that on the team. But yeah, I don't know if JonahP doesn't deserve what happened to him, because I think
Yeah.
if they had been choosing to release him, they should have released him way earlier. Because I know there were several teams that would have been very happy to jump on and sign him if the announcement had been earlier. So I think it really sucks for him being in this kind of a position
Yeah.
so so late in the season, in the off season.
Yeah.
Also, regarding everything that his partner said, that's also really fucked, because you've been playing with this team for 4 years, and I saw that as well. Like Valen was retweeting Baby Bay joining, like, yeah, welcome to the team. And people were like, yo, where's the farewell for your buddy who was there for 4 years? Why are none of you talking about this? Why is Dragon Ball the only one who actually said thank you for everything and stuff like that? Like,
Yeah.
was there like a breakdown behind the scenes? Did these guys have a fight? Maybe we wouldn't know the truth, but, JonahP as a person has always seemed pretty chill. And as an individual player has been very hardworking and consistent. So, yeah, I feel like there's more to the story. There's probably something that happened behind the scenes between the players that might have led to this. But also G2 as a team kind of has this habit, like, they don't win a trophy for like a couple of months or years, and they immediately start swapping players out like they're playing Tetris or something. So it's not just Valorant, it's literally every game that they seem to be in. So I don't know about that. I do feel like this was a bit of a reaction to them not winning any internationals last year. That first loss to T1, and yeah, after that they just couldn't even make it to a final. So pretty sad state of affairs for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go into a year calling it your golden era and you don't lift a single international trophy, that's kind of an L, bro. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. It's understandable that they want to change something. Like clearly the goal should be to win internationals, and if you can't cut it, it makes sense you look to make some changes. It just, by the sounds of things, looked like they just completely fucked the off season. Basically, like they didn't get the pieces they wanted secured. They were waiting on others, which is never a position you want to be in the off season. Like really, you want to be in control of your shit. And if you're kind of waiting to see what players agree elsewhere, and you're in the back of the queue, then you can get caught out. And obviously, the big bummer, especially for JonahP, is that basically every team's locked in already. Like it's happened so late that there really isn't an option of where he can go. At least not in Americas. I'm pretty sure like Americas is like totally set now. And not every player would want to uproot their lives to go to some other region either. Not like our boy Crashies, just to do some shameless self-promotion. That we did have a few interviews ahead of Red Bull Homeground. One with Crashies, who has re-signed officially now. I think the rumors were already there when we did our last episode. Because that was one player that had a similar thing where they'd gone abroad, and the rumors looked like that they didn't want to stay outside of NA. Because also like people always say that living in Berlin is shit, and when you're living in LA, it's probably quite a stark difference. So, for JonahP's sake, yeah, it's just not good at all for him in any capacity, and like totally out of his control as well. He's under contract with G2. It's not like he's needed to negotiate something and couldn't get it done. Like, he's under contract for next year. He would have presumably expected to be a G2 player. Yeah, not great. I guess the bright side for G2 is that they still look pretty good.
I mean, okay, look, first of all, I have a really big issue with all of Red Bull's tournaments. Like, why do you have best of ones for 90% of your fucking tournament, bro? You invite all these teams from around the world for the first big international tournament in the offseason, and you have best of ones. Like, what the fuck is the point? It just feels like such a, I don't know, like a shame that that's the case. And it's the same for whether it's their collegiate or their internationals or whatever. Like, it's my pet peeve with Red Bull events. Like, they're so banger, they look so good, but what the heck is this format? But yeah, like you said, I did think aside from the lower final, upper final, and grand final, yeah, best of ones aren't really the best way to kind of
it doesn't
sorry about that.
determine who is really the best team, like, obviously.
Yeah, but there were some pretty interesting games because I think Zeta beat Fnatic like 13-1. It was like a shit show for Fnatic. And I mean, G2's win against Fnatic was very close. I feel like, yeah, if and even C9 as well. So a lot of the games were incredibly close. I feel like if it had been a best of three, it would have been more consistent. But we're not that lucky. But even the roles as well. I mean, looking at how the team has progressed in terms of G2, I think that Baby Bay is just coming into the Sentinel role. Leaf has taken over the initiator role instead. Apart from that, everybody just seems to be doing the same thing. So I don't think there's been that much of a shakeup in terms of roster roles because I was looking at Baby Bay's agents played, and apart from Viper, he's just been playing Sentinel. Like, yeah, Killjoy. I think I saw like a Vito as well. There was also one of the tournaments where we saw Vito for the first time, so I feel like he's gonna be a very strong meta pick coming into future tournaments and stuff, especially GC because I think GC is the first VCT event where you do get to use Vito. So I'm very excited to see which teams are gonna be picking him up and how the adaptability is gonna look, and especially with the new changes because I feel like Vito can when you have like the 40-second 1 minute recharge time, you're only gonna be able to coordinate utility like twice in a round maybe. So Vito's signature ability can pretty much shut that down, and we kind of saw rounds like that in this event. I'm pretty excited to see how it's gonna look for game changers for sure. But yeah, back to this whole G2 thing. Like, yes, they finally got a trophy. I mean, technically it is an international trophy for the first time. They finally done it. I don't know if the offseason really counts as a place to do it, especially with a tournament format like this. But I mean, that must suck for JonahP as well, because I don't know about you. I'm like a very petty person. If someone did what they did, if someone snaked me like they snaked JonahP, I would be praying on their downfall.
You'd be hate
yeah,
watching.
I'd be hate watching. I'd be praying on their downfall. Yeah, but JonahP is just so nice, man. And I think that there are a couple of EMEA teams that can definitely sign him because I remember reading that Vitality had dropped Less as of yesterday. And Less is also kind of that flex player where JonahP could very well fit in. I don't know if they're going to choose their import slot for JonahP, but I think any region that gets him
to be complete Vitality. But I'm
yeah,
pretty sure
I remember seeing that as well. But yeah,
I'm pretty sure there's plenty of teams that still have a few. Well, fucking hell, BBL Pacific need a whole new team, don't they? So if you fancy fighting for a place, also like with the off-season stuff as well. I mean, it makes sense that G2 start as the strongest team, seeing as like they're still like these 5 players already played together last year, and every other team has had like pretty sweeping changes. So it's always like these off-season things. You don't really want to base too much off it anyway. It's kind of a funny thing.
I mean, Buster was playing Raze, so I don't know if you want to really, depend on that being the case.
And he was bloody good as well.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. I was so surprised. Like, wow, Boaster should play more Raze. That was like my first thought. A thought that I never thought I would have, but here we are. He was actually doing really well.
I mean, it was funny that he like went and just like actually smashed it on there. But I feel like for him, you probably do feel a bit like vindicated because he does get a lot of stick for like being like poorly rated in the game. Which like you kind of get it because he's cooling and he's like probably the greatest cooler of all time. But then you see people like Nats or somebody who can actually go and can frag at the same time, and then people think like, oh bloody hell, Bosa, can you not just like not be 3 and 10 every round, every match or something? But then
to be fair, he's gotten much better over the last 2 years. He's no longer 3 and 10; it's more like 5 and 10 most of the time.
But then
it's okay.
To be
he's
fair,
improving.
like when then you look at like his clutch percentages, and that's the time where it's just left to him. He doesn't have to think about other people, and that's where he's like he does out like he is an outlier in that. So it's probably nice for him actually to just let him like have a game to show like, look, I am actually mechanically not bad. It's just that I have to do a lot of thinking. So it was actually quite nice for him. Quite embarrassing probably for Giant X a little bit as well. Not gonna lie. But yeah, with
Yeah,
the
just a
off-season
bit.
stuff, because as a football fan, like, because in esports it's not always, or at least like where I've followed League of Legends for so many years, it was never really a thing that you have so many of these off-season events. Um, so it is like quite unique. I think that Valorant has it, and in like real sports, in football, teams do it every year where they'll go kind of like what we're happening now in Valorant, where you do like these little tournaments over in Korea or in Australia, like you go to these countries that don't usually get to see like elite football teams play, and you do like a mini tournament for a couple of days. And the thing there is like if your team is playing shit, you kind of go, well, it's fine. Like it's just preseason. It's for fitness. The team's getting used to each other. We got new players. They need to synergize. So if you're like, when Cloud9 come into these tournaments and don't look very good, then they're coming out saying like, oh, it's fine. Like things are going well behind the scenes. The practice is going well. We're getting to know each other. The vibes are great, and that's fine. I think that's the approach you should have. But then if you're a team that comes in and wins every match in preseason, you're like, oh yeah, we're looking good. And basically, it's like if you win, the results do matter. If you lose, the results don't matter. Yeah, I think in preseason, like you can kind of get the information that you want to glean from it either way. So I wouldn't like read massively into things if the team's losing. Again, it can be nice. Like if a team looks good straight away, obviously that's a positive. But it's not the end of the world for like your C9s that don't look great, especially when they've had like sweeping roster changes. New IGL, who's in IGL for the first time. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of these tournaments is to get used to these things and gel and practice and that. So not bad at all. And actually, as Kaplan made a good point when I interviewed him, then that even just like traveling with new players, like when you've got rookie players especially as well, and just getting them in that scenario of traveling for an event, going through jet lag, doing a boot camp. It's just good practice in that sense, and to like get to know them in that environment as well. For if and when you do go to an international, when you do that, then it's not a brand new experience where the players traveling for the first time and things can be a bit more stressful and a bit more pressure. They've kind of been through that in a much lower stakes environment. So, yeah, good stuff in that sense. And there's a few more still as well, right? I think I hadn't clocked quite how many off-season events there are, because I was thinking like they all seem a bit early. Like it maybe would have made more sense for these to have been a bit later, because you've got off-season events right now, and then your first official probably won't be for like another 2 months. But there are some later on as well. There's some in December too, so it's kind of dotted around all over the place, really.
We already had a couple conclude in Pacific as well, because I think 10 Global just got over
Yeah,
as well. And they had Heretics come third. But it was actually the Ascension second place team, Nongshim, who took the trophy. So it was nice to see them perform at that high level and finally lift up a trophy since their Ascension win last year. I think there's also the Predator League coming up for APAC. So there's a couple of APAC events left. But with just about a month and a half left and GC taking up most of this month, yeah,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure we're not going to have that many more events coming up.
yeah,
Because kickoff usually starts in the beginning of Jan and stuff. So
yeah, exactly. I think just looking on VLR, there's Loop League, Project Blender, the EMEA one, but that's mostly like amateur teams. I think until like towards the end, I think EMEA teams can come into it. Ludwig and Tarek Invitational, but I think there's no word on like who's going to be there or who's playing. So yeah, a few things dotted around still, but I think for the most part, yeah, from now on it's going to be obviously game changers and then a few stragglers after that.
I think there is also an off-season event happening in CN, because I remember seeing a couple of tweets
Yes,
about it, and
Shanghai
I think
Esports
it's from
Masters.
December. Yeah, yeah. So I think it's called Radiant International Invitational or something, and they said it will be an international event. So I'm excited to see which teams are going to be coming over for the event
Oh
itself.
right, so that's a different. So there's this Shanghai one that's just Chinese teams.
Mm.
There must be a few then. There's this one early December. Billy, EDG, FPX, and Trace are playing that as well. So yeah, a few more to look out for. FPX just not really related to Valorant specifically. Well, not at all really, but their league team just quit League of Legends, which was pretty big news there because well, obviously, like they've got pretty big history in Valorant, but in League of Legends they were world champions in 2019. And yeah, they just had their franchise slot. They just sold it back to Riot so that they could dip out of the league, which is a shame because you don't, when the teams have proper history, you don't kind of want that to continue, and it's good for your stories of your sport. So when your world champions are no longer compete in the thing, it's not great. Like Ascend, and we've seen how that's unfolded, and their communications these days is a bit odd. But also in League, RNG as well, who is like a two-time MSI champion, have also quit this year. So a couple of big Chinese teams out of League, which is not ideal. So hopefully we don't get a repeat in Valorant, and all the teams with trophies can stick around. Because already there's a few that aren't there, and it does look a bit odd when you kind of look back at the history of the game and the teams don't exist anymore. It's not a great look. Anyway, that's all I had on my list today. Is there any other things you spotted you wanted to chat about?
Oh no, I think we pretty much covered everything coming up, and yeah, I mean, one more thing that I think you had mentioned in the notes that we touched upon was C9. They had a roster rebuild. They looked a little bit shaky during the Sen Invitational, but I think as a roster, they still have a long way to go in terms of building synergy. But there's definitely some hope compared to last year's iteration, at least. And I'm kind of excited to see how Zelsis is going to be as an IGL. Like, he was really good at selling the Sen bundle. Let's see how he is on the server as well. So I'm kind of excited for his IGL arc. I don't know.
Yeah.
Apart from that, yeah, I mean, one more thing that I think you had mentioned was something about the talents for GC
Oh yeah,
and about how. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. It's a bit of an odd one that. So the talent announcement dropped. I think I have the link to it as well. Oh, the phone. I'm messing up my production right now, but I'm almost ready. There you go. So yeah, they did the announcement of the talent. And to be fair, a lot of them. I mean, it's like most of the big names that you expect for a lot of these, a lot of the international tournaments anyway. But the one that was like the obvious omission was Yinsu as the host. I'm pretty sure was pretty much has hosted like every big Valorant event
Events,
as
yeah.
far as I can remember. And my first thought really was that she didn't want to do it or was busy or something, like when you didn't see her on here. But she did actually respond, like saying that she was gutted and it was the first time she's not going to make it. And the implication being like clearly that it wasn't her choice and that she wasn't picked. Which was a big surprise, I think, like to the whole community. Interestingly, Victoria isn't there either as a host, and had
Okay, I
so
can spoil this for you. Vic had another engagement. They asked her very late. She
yeah,
mentioned, I think,
yeah. So I was gonna say
and
because so she tweeted
she's
it.
doing Asia GT. So
Yeah,
I can't really falter for it. Asia GT. You get to see fast cars. It sounds pretty wild and like a good time to me. So
yeah. No, it
I
makes
think she
sense.
said
But
she'd already committed for that.
yeah, so she said like she had turned down the host in it, and then I did notice like the only hosts are from Asia Pacific. So like my guess is that they wanted like maybe like local hosts since it's in Korea, and that was like an angle they were going for,
I
for
mean,
whatever reason. But
I don't know. I mean, looking at the talents as well, I think apart from Mika, who is like the Pacific host, who's been there around for a while, I think Akuka has also done like a decent amount of hosting. So I wouldn't be surprised to see her jump in either, I would say, in that regard. And I think having Pacific talent kind of makes sense, like not just because they're local, but you also need like translators and stuff. And I feel like
yeah,
Bella, who is Indonesian, and Jen Lee, who is Korean, between them they cover, and of course Mika, who's Filipino, they've got like their local languages as well as everything else kind of covered here. And of course, I mean the insane number of languages that this whole team speaks is just amazing to me, because you got Riot for all the Spanish. I don't know if she does speak Portuguese as well, but I think that in terms of just getting really good interviews and content, this is actually pretty strong. But it is kind of weird to not have Yinsu because, like you said, she's done every major event, and also she's just in terms of like her work, she has like a really strong work ethic, and she's always like spoken up about the GC scene
Yeah.
and been very supportive of the players individually. So I don't know. I mean, at least maybe they'll have her as an interviewer or something, because she was kind of doing that for champs as well, leading like the gold carpet and stuff. Maybe they'll bring her in another capacity instead of just being on the desk or as a caster. But yeah, it is pretty strange to not
Yeah.
have her around. I agree. I am very happy to see Pansy and Potter both back though, because honestly, this is like my favorite casting duo, and I really wish we got Potter in VCT. Because yes, I know she's busy coaching and she has a day
Yeah.
job and everything else, but I would like to see more Potter Pansy casts. And they're also like different regions, right? So the only time you really get to see them together is at GC. And I remember watching last year's final, and they did such a good job. So I'm very excited to listen to them
Yeah.
cast.
I feel like Pansy just makes anyone look so good as well. Like any duo with Pansy is sick. I think I really like. It doesn't happen that often when Pansy and Kukuka are on EMEA. I really
Mhm.
like. I think Pansy just has like good banter with everybody, and yeah, top pro.
I just like the contrast in energy, because Pansy is like so hype and energetic and just so insanely enthusiastic, and then you've got like Potter just with these cold reads. Like her analysis is just on another level, which I mean makes sense because you are a coach of a VCT team and you won champions and everything. But yeah, I just really like the combo of them. They've got that perfect blend of like top tier analysis and just really good energy. And
Yeah.
they, like you said, but Pansy is really good at bouncing off people and just synergizing with them. So I think this is probably one of my favorite casting duos of all time, so as to speak. So I'm very personally excited to see them both here for GCC.
Yeah. Sure. And I don't think there's nobody here that doesn't deserve it either. Because that's the other thing you get sometimes when every talent announcement has someone missing, has at least one person missing from it. And then what always happens is when one person's missing, some fans will start to go, oh, what, this person's here. Why is this person not here? And like start comparing them and like putting down the people that are there in a little way. So yeah, worth mentioning that. Like I don't think there's anyone here that should be either. It's just a surprise to not see Instu is all. And yeah, when you say about like, the translate, like how many people there are for translations as well, like I will never not praise the talent
Multilingual ones.
that do the interview and translate their own interview at the same time. Like
Like
it just
Jen
blows my
Jen
mind.
does that. Jen is absolutely insane. Like she
Yeah,
she does English, she does Korean, just switches between them so fluently. It's really, really fun to watch in VCT, because you got a lot of Korean teams as well, right? We got 5 Korean teams at this point. So
yeah,
yeah, Jen has been kind of carrying this year. I'm really happy to see her, get more international opportunities at Toronto here as well. So been very, very happy for her. Mika as well. I think she came abroad like last year into VCT and started doing international events. I think Madrid was one of her first ones, and she's really leveled up as well. And I mean, I am a little bit sad to not see Yunsu on the stage, but I'm very happy to see perhaps Mika or Kakuka take up that role of host, because I feel like for 5 years it's mostly been Golden Boy and Yunsu, and they do a great job. Don't get me wrong, they do a fantastic job, but I like seeing new faces around, especially for GCC. I feel like that's a tournament where you can really kind of just have these people who are like veterans of the scene kind of step up and everything. And I know for a fact that Mika also handles like a lot of the cool trailers and everything for VCT Pacific. So I think she'll bring a lot of value in terms of just being able to conflate the storylines and build like a really cool narrative. I'm very excited to see her host actually for this particular event, because she's also very, very passionate about GC. And I'm really excited about this talent pool, to be honest. Like, yeah, it's a bit weird to not have Yinsu, but everybody else here is just absolutely fantastic, like you said. And they all have like a established synergy with each other in a lot of ways. So I think after Potter and Pansy, Ender and Mimi are probably my second favorite caster duo here. So you just got some banger casters here.
yeah, sure. Um, well, we'll enjoy the show then when it starts in a couple of days, I guess. And I think that pretty much wraps up the episode. Thanks for your insight, Zach. Thanks for carrying me, because again I know like fuck all about game changes. So
It's
I'm
okay.
ready to
Watch and
learn.
learn. This is the year, Lee. I believe in you.
Exactly.
You got this.
Yeah, I'm ready to lock in this week
And
and learn.
people watching, if you want to read more about GC, we've written like individual articles for each region. So if you want to see like why, I have that MIBR Delulu, or why SRG is so good or whatever, we've written a lot about that. So you can go check out like our regional recaps for the whole year. Pretty much, if you want a bit of a, what do you call it? A bit of a, what's the word for it, man? Like a primer
Refresher.
before you head
Yeah,
into
yeah.
GCC. Yeah.
And just keep an eye on like all of our content as well, because like I reckon we'll probably be one of the sites, if not the site, with like the most coverage probably on game changers. So we'll be
Yeah,
bang on it.
please.
So yeah, keep your eyes peeled. Check out the YouTube. There'll be interviews and stuff coming as well. And yeah, everybody enjoy the tournament. And thanks for
I'm so
watching.
excited. Yes, thank you, everyone. I
And
love yapping about GC.
absolutely. And thanks for your time, Zach. And yeah, we'll catch you guys again in a couple of weeks. See you later.